Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your Danville City Commission regular meeting for November the 13th, 2017. The hour is 5:30. As I look to my left and to my right, we're all present. So I will call us to order, and I will ask that our prayer be given by Commissioner Sears.
So it's unfortunate that we go through life and Mother Nature sometimes deals with some bad cards and we have to live with that. But it's even more unfortunate that we have shootings. And so between last meeting and this meeting, we had another one at a church down in southern Texas. And so I would offer that we have a moment of silence to think about those relatives of those victims down there. And amen.
Amen. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight by Commissioner James H. Atkins.
And are there other veterans in present this evening? If so, would you please come forward? Other veterans? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins.
And thank you for your service, sir, and Commissioner Sears as well. Appreciate that.
Excellent.
You didn't come over here?
I was already up here.
Any additions or corrections or deletions from tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move right on. We're at the point in our meeting where we hear the public, and this is the public's opportunity to speak on any item that is on tonight's agenda. There will be an opportunity later on for the public to speak on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. So with that, open up the floor and invite you to take the microphone, anyone that wants to speak on tonight's, on any subject for tonight. Going once, twice. Item 1. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, that being October the 23rd, 2017. Chair will entertain a motion to accept and approve as presented.
Also, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Any additions? Any corrections? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 2 is a proclamation, and if I could, I will ask that Lisa Keller and Mariah Lanner join me. Both of these ladies are from Morning Point, where they have an Alzheimer's unit.
Getting ready for me.
And after I'm done reading, if you all want to have some words to say, that's fine. City of Danville Proclamation, National Alzheimer's Month, November 2017. Whereas the City of Danville acknowledges that Alzheimer's disease, the most common form of dementia, is a progressive and degenerative brain illness which affects a person's ability to think, feel, and function, and is often ultimately fatal. And whereas more than 5 million Americans are now living with Alzheimer's disease, and over 227,000 care partners provide unpaid care at home, valued at upwards of $3 billion. And whereas Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month is an opportunity to raise awareness about this growing public health concern, its symptoms, and the importance of early detection so that individuals are able to connect with resources and services that offer assistance such as adult day programs, family caregiver support programs, and related senior service providers. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is a difficult and expensive disease to manage as it requires greater utilization of inpatient hospital care, skilled nursing facility stays, and home health care visits in comparison to individuals without dementia. And whereas the City of Danville supports the efforts of all providers and joins all interested agencies and organizations in honoring those suffering from Alzheimer's disease, those who have passed, and the caregivers. Now therefore, Mayor G. Michael Paris and the City Commissioners of the City of Danville, on this 13th day of November 2017, do hereby proclaim November 2017 as Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month, and encourage all residents of Danville to become educated, to personally engage in healthy behaviors, promote brain health, and to support those with the disease and their loved ones who care for them. Ladies,
Thank you. Thank
you're
you very
welcome.
much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
My pleasure.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for what you do.
Thank you. We appreciate
And
it.
if there's anything you want to say, come over to the microphone and introduce yourselves.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Keller. I'm the Executive Director of Morning Point of Danville. We have a Alzheimer's unit at Morning Point. It's called the Lantern, and Mariah Smith is our Lantern Program Director.
Hi, I'm Mariah. We have 16 residents and their families, but we also have a support group each month. So we meet at 5:30 in our library at Morning Point for about an hour, and that's where anyone who's caregiving for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, the many different forms of dementia, then they can come and I kind of give them tricks or strategies that I've used on my lantern, or then they also have form a community of people that they can network with and talk with about their struggles, because one thing that the disease does is it makes you feel like you're alone, and that you're the only one that's dealing with this difficult behavior that's occurring. And so they're able to hear from other people that, oh, my husband was doing that months ago. You know, we've moved on to something different, and this is what worked in that time of need. And so it's really just been, it's a growth from last year to this year on the attendance that has come, as well as just the different faces that have come in and helped with volunteering on our lantern as well, which is really, really helpful.
Yes, lastly, I would just like to say that Mariah did say that this has been a work in progress, that we have grown from last year at this time until now. And there's one thing that we would just like to say, that we are just not there for the residents and their families there at Morning Point. We are also here for folks that are still living in the community. So as Mariah has formed this support group, you know, we are a lending hand to those that are still providing care for their loved one in their home. The support group is a wonderful time, as Mariah has mentioned, in getting to know folks and kind of relate to what they're going through and relate with each other. If you have not been out to see us, I encourage you, you can come out at any time and we can show you around. We have lots of support and volunteers. We've had a lot of support from the area schools, including Center College to Bull County to DCA, just various students coming out, and we are very appreciative of that. We are appreciative of the City of Danville. The mayor came out just a month or so ago for Kim Campbell events, and we are very, very appreciative of all the support you all have shown to us and being very welcoming. And as we continue this month and bring in awareness for Alzheimer's and dementia, we hope to paint the town purple. We like to tie purple ribbons around, so if you see that, that is awareness for Alzheimer's and dementia. Also, towards the end of the month, we'll have a luminary lighting that Mariah and Nicole have put together, and that is in honor and in memory of the folks that are living with this disease. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
When is the support group?
The third Thursday of each month at 5:30 to 6:30.
Third Thursday. I had an,
I think it's on the Alzheimer's Association website and Morning Point's website as well.
okay, thank you.
And your lantern lighting, do you have a date and time on that
I
yet?
think
The 29th and the 30th?
29th.
November 29th and November 30th, starting at 6 o'clock. The 29th is when we will read off names and do a little bit more of a service type ceremony, and then the 30th we'll just like the luminary. So really the 29th is the best one to come and attend if you all would like to.
And what
do
time is that?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. And I would just like to say I have a friend that just started working out there. And I had also attended the Kim Campbell when she was here, and it was very enlightening to me, her story, and also the memory care community. And also in your all's favor, you're also very good to your employees.
Oh, thank you.
And the caregivers that you have there. My friend cannot say enough good things about working there. So
Well, thank you.
we appreciate that as well.
I'm just curious, how many out there have been affected or a relative been affected? Anything in your family? I'm just curious. There you go. Now, the other question I have is, what's the research on a cure?
Oh, I think they're constantly trying to find a cure,
Are
but
there
there's
any
not one.
breakthroughs?
No.
What about, is there any way for early screening? I mean, does that help if it's found out about early in its onset?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And how do you approach that subject? It'd be hard to get somebody to say, I think we might need to go get
Yeah,
that checked out.
It's a very
But-
delicate subject to say, hey, I think you have Alzheimer's dementia. No, I don't. No,
Yeah,
no, of
right.
course. And so the early stages are somewhat of not the most difficult, but can be very challenging in trying to rationalize, I guess, trying to get them to understand, because they're not necessarily going to understand.
Right.
So being proactive you can have your CT scans, you can have MRIs, things of that nature. Medicine will only slow the progression down, but it will not eliminate it. So I think doing your the healthy brain stimulation, just keeping active, things of that nature. But where there's not a cure, there's not anything that will prevent it as well.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Item 3 is a banner.
Wait a minute, I was gonna
Yes,
tell
sir.
I'm gonna pick Commissioner Cottle up next Thursday at 5:15, so if I remember to get him out there, right? We both can get screened.
Item
It's
3 is a
pretty
banner
solid.
request from the heart of Danville. We have with us the Executive Director, Nick Wade.
How are you all tonight?
Good, thank you.
I would like to put a banner in front of City Hall for Danville's first ever open air ice rink, which will be located at Wizziger Plaza, and will open next Saturday, November 25th. So I believe you have a copy of the banner in front of you. So, yes.
This meets all of our specifications.
I move for approval of the banner request from the Heart of Danville for the Skate on Main.
Nick, I got one question for you.
Wait a minute,
Absolutely.
We got a second. We got a
I'll
second.
second it.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Now, Mr. Atkins.
You have some very extra special liability insurance with this event, I hope.
Yes, we do.
Enough to cover the mayor and all 4 commissioners, I hope.
If you see me out there, something happened.
That's why we're going on out.
Well, I invite all of you all to come out and enjoy the ice rink. It's for the entire community, and we think it will be a huge success for our community and a very positive thing for the holiday season.
Nick, you want to say a few things about the ice rink? It's not real ice, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it
It
may
is
be a
an-
little
it's a-
safer than real ice.
Yeah, it's an artificial ice. It's a plastic material that you put a compound on that makes it slick like ice. It's actually easier to skate on for older members of our community and younger members of our community and unexperienced skaters. It's easier than real ice. I'm sure it hurts just as much as if you fall down, but it's supposed to be easier. So,
I don't bounce like I used to.
That's right. You're required to wear their shoes, I guess, too, right?
yes, there is an admission fee of $10, and it includes the price of skate rentals.
Well, I think this is great. To me, this is kind of what I had in mind when we redid the park, that it'd be a year-round venue for all kinds of things, and I think this is a great use. And in defense of our park, I'm not sure we could have fit an ice rink in the former configuration.
You would not have been able
Park.
to. That is correct.
So, best of luck.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. I would let you know that we also have brochures. I'm going to pass them around.
Okay.
And they detail all of the holiday events for downtown Danville throughout the holiday season. And there is more information about the ice rink in there. They can be picked up here, our office, visitor center, and most of the downtown businesses as well, for anyone that would like one. Oops, sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item 4 is a report from the Community Arts Center. Executive Director is Nikki Kincaid.
Hello. I want to first thank you for the support you show the Community Arts Center. We're very conscious of being good stewards of the building and the support you show us in other ways. And really, I've been in this position now 4 months, and actually my biggest surprise is how many people come into the Community Arts Center. I've been on the board for 4 years, and it's really surprising. Every day we have 10, 15, 25, 30 people for various reasons. And so I'm going to give you a little glimpse of what happens at the Community Arts Center, starting with classes. So that's one of our primary focuses this year is programs and classes. And we have a wide range of classes. And so far this fall, we've offered 55 different classes, including things like wheel thrown pottery, homeschool percussion, adult drawing, kids 3D art, art history series, ballroom dance, preschool art classes, high school watercolor classes, Starry Night Studio, and it goes on. So we also have a free art class for children under 5 called Munchkins and Me that meets once a week. And we are doing a little changing with our structure of classes to meet the community's needs. So we have classes that are 4, 6, 7 weeks in length, meeting once a week. We also have classes that meet once or 3 times, various kinds of classes for busy folks. We also have different kinds of classes than we've had in the past, things such as the art of manners for children. We have Girl Scout badges, so just kind of looking at new things. Then we have a lot of programs that we offer, such as we had our first ever sign language social that we co-hosted with the Center College ASL Club. We had over 80 members of the community come to that event. It was a gallery talk. And we also most recently had a auction with Louise Wilkinson pieces that some of you were there and benefited from that, as well as I know that Janet Hamner generously donated one of those pieces to the city of Danville. We have Lunch with the Arts once a month. We have a new program called Night at the Museum, where little kiddos can spend the night at the Arts Center, and we have different programming around that. We have Lisi's Art Lab, which is a free space in our building for kids to create anytime we're open. And we have all sorts of things. So then exhibits, we do 6 or 7 exhibits a year, free to attend. And many of our shows feature local artists, giving them a venue to show their work and sell their work. The Gathering Artists showed their work in August and September, and we sold 18 pieces out of that show. We're currently getting ready for the holiday market, so I invite everyone to come. We have, I think, about 40 artists who will have pieces in the kind of gift range, and Friday night is our opening, so we invite you to come between 5 and 9 that evening. We have live music and snacks and drinks, and it'll be a fun evening. We, let's see, field trips. We've had 13 field trips this fall, including schools from the Boyle, Danville, Bergen, Stanford, KSD, and Danville Montessori School. And we feature field trips for special needs students through a grant, actually a contract that was awarded us through the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. We have a ceramic studio that is one of the best in the region, and we have memberships and classes that take place there. We collaborate with many community partners, including like the Heart of Danville, their new residents gathering, the Arts Commission's Youth Fair, the Mayor's Tree Lighting that happens in 2 weeks. We do our outreach, such as the Back to School Picnic at Millennium Park and Brass Band Festival. And then our building. We've really focused on our building recently, and we're starting a building historical tour, historically bold tour. And we will have audio sets and docent-led tours throughout the building to kind of share the history of that beautiful space. We rent the building out. We also use this, other entities in town use the space, such as the Gathering Artists, the Plein Air Artists, Garden Club, the Tai Chi group. So anyway, I just wanted to share some of the things we do there in case you didn't quite know, like I didn't. We have, in the building, I just want to share 2 stories. So I just came from 5 minutes before coming here, a young man proposed to his fiance at our space. He had a treasure hunt all through the day, and they ended up at the Community Arts Center with roses in a heart, and he down on his knee to propose to her. So things like that happen. Another story that has touched me, I think it's the most interesting and touching thing that I've experienced at the Arts Center in these 4 months is there was a gentleman who came in recently, and he had been incarcerated, had been in jail, and he's an artist, and or he is now realizing he's an artist. Mm-hmm. And somebody found his work, or a family member sent it to the Arts Center, and Brandon went to the jail a number of times to work with him on his art, and he is out and went through the Isaiah House and created a portrait of the house and came into the Art Center last week to see if Brandon could help him frame this so that he could present it. Anyway, there are good things happen at the Art Center. So, and thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions you might have?
Any questions?
The artist market that you said, is that this Friday?
Yes.
That's when it starts?
This is the opening, and it goes till December 23rd. Yes.
Is it 5 to 9 every day, or is it all day?
5, yeah, all day. It's open throughout the season, and Friday's just the opening.
I'll publicly congratulate you on your new position.
Thank
and
you.
welcome. I
Thank
think
you.
that the board made a good choice, and
Thank
so
you,
we're
Rick.
real happy about that. And following up on Commissioner Caudell's comments from the previous Nick, any programming in Wisger for 2018?
Well, actually, we are considering what we'll do for the summer. So we are in the process of planning for winter and spring, and then we will then continue into the summer. So spring and summer would be more the timing, obviously, that we would do that. So we're partnering with Heart of Danville, or we're doing some advertising to send people over to the Wissahickon for the ice skating rink, as well as get them to come to the Community Arts Center, because we will have also paint your own ornaments. Anytime the building's open, you can create an ornament at the Arts Center for the next 6 weeks. So yes, I think there's all sorts of interesting things we can do at Wissahickon. We've done Starry Night Studios in the park, which is a really lovely venue for that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Good.
Thank you, ma'am.
all right, thank you.
Item 6 is a marketing report from the CVB. I'm sorry, Veterans Appreciation Event. Sorry, Ms. Martin. You want to come join us?
Good evening to all of you, and thank you so much, first and foremost, for your continued sponsorship. As you all know, this event is very near and dear to my heart, and very glad to be able to be a part of it. Heritage Hospice takes care of veterans all year long, not just one time a year, but it's a very special event. This is our 10th anniversary, which has been very exciting. I can't believe it's been 10 years since this event has gone on. And again, the continued sponsorship is making a huge difference. The money that was donated was given to the food That's what we have to use it for, is the food, because food cost continues to rise. And attendance was a little lower this year, but we held it on a Friday instead of on a Saturday. That made a difference, as well as other things. And the good part is that as we have started this event until this point, there are more and more people getting involved about honoring veterans. And we're very glad that people are getting more involved about thanking our veterans, because it was overdue then, and it's always an honor to be able to take time out to say thank you to those that have served us. And a little update, everybody always asks who was the oldest veteran. Actually, our oldest veteran that was not able to come is 104 years old. He's here in Danville. His son and him had a great battle, but he could not come. He didn't feel well enough, but he vocally shared with his son how much he didn't appreciate the fact that he didn't take him out. But we were glad to have Ansel Shepard. He was 99 years old. He's actually here local. And Matt Shepard, a lot of people know him from Wood and Nickel. That's his dad. So he's been waiting on this for a long period of time. And his friend, which is one of his closest friends, Paul Chandler, was right behind him at 99 as well. So they were just a few months apart. And it was kind of exciting to watch them compare their birthdays, because everybody wants to be the oldest. So that was really neat to watch them. And then, of course, our youngest we always honor that's present was an 18-year-old. His name was Dustin Snow, and he was with us for the first time. So that was really exciting to watch them collaborate together, as well as so many others. We had 106 new ones this year. So every year we have new ones. And that's always exciting to see them enjoy it for the first time. This year, our World War II veterans, of course, have gone down, which they will continue to do so. But we had 28 this year. We were able to have 17 guardsmen there to help assist, which is always very helpful. And that number has gone down over time. But every time we get any kind of crew, they're very appreciative and wonderful to work with. We had 105 volunteers from the community that were a part of this event. Couldn't do it without them. It's really hard to recruit that many, and actually we were a little low on volunteers this year, and since I'm the captain of the ship, I was a little bit in panic form, thinking my ship was going to go down because I had a stack of tickets because I assigned tables this year. But so many came forth. Even some of the veterans decided they wanted to serve as well, which we don't normally let them do that, but they were adamant, and I wasn't going to argue with them. So I let them do that. There was 122 guests that came with our veterans, but we had over 1,000. We had 1,028 veterans that were present. Some of the changes that we made were, again, numbering the tables for assignees. Danville Christian Academy came back this year in full force. They're so used to doing it. They've been with us for 9 years and did a wonderful job. Some of those had done it over the years. We're helping the other ones that hadn't been there. And, of course, Bate Middle School was also involved as their cheerleaders, but they got a little cold. That day was very, very cold. So, again, that affected the attendance as well. But we had heaters and things outside. But there's just been a lot of changes over the years and a lot of things we've tried to fix and will continue to do so to make this the best event that it can possibly be, because the veterans deserve the very best. And we're very appreciative of the Masons who come forth with the food. The food was delicious. There was lots of it. And it was just a really good time to be able to share and watch people be able to visit, see longtime friends that they haven't seen, and sometimes they only see them once a year. So we really, really love the fact that the Armory is still open and ready for us to be able to come in and be able to accommodate a lot of people. Due to door prizes, we've also changed that so there's a fluctuation so it's not as crowded as it normally is, and people can come and go and not have to wait on door prizes. We gave over $1,000 worth of door prizes. They were able to have a chance at that on their way out, so they didn't have to stay the whole entire event if they got tired, because some of our veterans get a little tired after a while. But again, I want to thank you all so much for not only your continual financial support, but those that come to the actual event, the encouraging words throughout the year. so many of you all run into, and you're always so encouraging, and that's really helpful when you're trying to pull it together. And of course, my Veterans Committee, which are the best of any committee. I'd put them up against any committee. I could not do it without them. I don't have to babysit them. They just know what they're going to do, and it's such a team effort. And without those and all the volunteers, it wouldn't be possible. And of course, Heritage Hospice for giving me this forum to be able to spoil the veterans. Do you all have any questions for me?
Where are you going to move it as it gets bigger?
Well, it's gotten bigger, and we still haven't moved it. We're just accommodating the best that we can. They really enjoy being there. It's a common bond spot for them. They really enjoy it. And hopefully one day we'll have a building, someday, big enough to hold the event in. We never know. But we're just so thankful to have that forum and be in a central location for all those that want to attend and all those that are still taking vacations from Texas, and not just the four-county area, to come and celebrate with us. Any other questions? Okay. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
It's a great event.
Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer, you thought you were getting out of it. This is a CVB Marketing Report.
What am I using over here, Alex, this thing?
I don't mean to be difficult, it just happens naturally.
Won't respond to that one. Still, no comment, that's right.
Okay, am I good? Okay. There we go. So Ron asked me in a timely, at a timely moment to come and talk to you folks about marketing. And I had happened to be preparing the same kind of presentation for the board. A few things. All marketing leading up to this, you can go to our website at danvillekentucky.com. On the left-hand side is a tab that says Organizational Documents. Just a reminder, everything you need to know about us is there. Our minutes, our financials, governing KRSs, and previous marketing reports. So this is going to start with spring 2017. This is a very in-depth topic, and I'm pretty good about coming and giving economic impact overviews, and I'm not as great about giving marketing. So what I've done in your packets, you can see I gave you an Excel sheet. And that's really the nuts and bolts. That's advertising that, it's kind of my cheat sheet. You'll see it's planned annually and also has a sheet of ads that we've placed and that I'm looking to place. If there's a question mark, it means it hasn't been secured yet. But all of that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense unless we put it in context. So just briefly, obviously the CVB's main mission is to market Boyle County, and that's what we'll talk about today. But we also do product development or community investment, because really if we're going to market it, we need to have a product that's worth marketing. So we're always looking for opportunities to invest locally. We had another record year last year, 205 plus. I actually projected 205,000, so I had a big sigh of relief when I saw the room tax come in. We've projected an additional $90,000 for this upcoming budget because of the new hotel. Obviously, we've never done a budget like that before, so we're monitoring it as we go. It's an educated projection, but it is just a projection. So in this budget, we have $117,000 marked for marketing. Of that, the $90,000 is placed ad and design. We have about another $20,000 to $25,000 for photography, video, and website design. We also do a ton of printing, promotional materials, social media, and we do lead fulfillment of, it's actually probably over that number, meaning when in some of the ads that we place, people will say, hey, we want more information, and we send them our visitor's guide. So we spend thousands just on postage every year. So when we talk about marketing, really the marketing would be the overall plan and strategy, and that's essentially what we did with the branding. When I first started at the CVB, a lot of the advertising we did was shooting in the dark. There was no cohesive idea about who were we, where are we going, who are we looking to attract. So that was when we stepped back and did the branding process, as well as collecting data on visitor demographics. And then the advertising is really the placements of the marketing plan. So it can be in all forms, but the most common is the placed ads. And then there's 3 types of media that we deal with. Owned, which would be, for example, our website. We control it, we do everything about it. Paid are your typical placed advertisements. And earned is really what I strive for the most. It's when you're reading an article and it's an endorsement that clearly isn't paid. It's actually someone's recommendation. Now, that being said, we get a lot of earned media from travel writers. So we may pay for the travel writer's stay and make sure they have a smashingly good time, but we don't actually pay for any ad placements, and hopefully their writing is good enough to be picked up. So it is a lot cheaper than a placed ad, and I think of greater value. A lot of what we do, so we did our branding, and yes, it's got colors and logos, but honestly, it was a roadmap and a strategy. I just want to take a second to reread the brand story, just because I think it's very important about how the whole community came together. History is not made by doing the same old thing. It's made by people committed to the new, the different, the daring. Danville's history of first repeatedly reveals this kind of moxie. Danville's future history is being built today through individual ingenuity, bold new events, and exciting ideas in business and education. Every time a courageous person attempts something new or impossible, a boundary is pushed. This is why Danville is a community that steps up with ideas and actions that forever deem it to be historically bold. So when we sit down to plan an ad or a campaign of some kind, we're thinking about how do we be bold and different. Everybody has history. I'm from Philadelphia. We have a lot of it there. How do we make it forward-looking? How do we make it exciting? How do we make it our own? And I think another crucial thing to consider is who your audience is. We're not always talking to tourists. When we market to attract travel writers. We've had Brand USA, Bourbon Review. We had a great partnership with Brass Band. We have tour bus operators that we're looking to market to attract them. We're constantly nurturing relationships with media outlets, always keeping in touch and making connections as we can. We do a lot of travel shows currently through our regional partnerships, although this year will be the first year that we actually go and do our own. And then there's our actual tourist, which tends to be baby boomers, heritage tourism travel, and the bourbon traveler. And we work so well with Develop Danville, and we're always partnering on economic development ads and pieces to attract businesses. So really, we're in the marketing is about relationships, I think is mainly. It's not just talking to a tourist and say, hey, come here. On the right, that's one of the banners we did that is actually a pop-up banner. I meant to bring it in, and I forgot. But it'll be at our travel show. If you were at the barbecue festival, you saw a bunch of banners we had in our info booth. This is advertising that is complete. If you'll humor me for a few minutes, here's some of this one we just did is in Oxford, America. This is kind of, this is a Garden and Gun level publication, but it doesn't have as much as circulation. It's got about a 200,000 circulation compared to Garden and Gun 650 plus. But this is actually our ad. Here, that we just placed with that. One of our Kentucky's biggest draw for international travel is bluegrass music. So in that ad, we featured an iconic brass band photo that says, if you love Kentucky, you're going to love Danville. So that's a very cool publication. Lexington negotiated the majority of the deal, so we were able to get some discounted publication. We partner with Visit the Lex as we can. Let's see. Another kind of advertising we do is our co-op advertising. We get about $17,000 a year from the state of Kentucky that we can submit ads and be reimbursed for. Typically, our Kentucky Official Visitors Guide, that's the OVG up there, it's a $12,000 full ad placement, and that Oxford America ad is the ad that'll go in there as well. That usually takes up the lion's share of that money. But we also have an ad this year in Preservation, the National Historic Trust. Here you go. So you can see with that, the state tourism department does a big write-up. They get a lot of, it's called advertorial, because it's paid content placement. And then we get a small ad within that. The format's decided, limited characters, limited. So you'll see there's not really design to it, which makes it easier on smaller CVBs, so we participate in some of those. But I like to stick to the ads where we have freedom for design. Let's see, we've done a lot with WEKU and WKYL. We have a good ad rep there. Right, Nikki? And we actually, with brass band's a good example. We were able to, Nikki and I were able to negotiate one-for-one sponsorship. So we had a month of great brass band ads running up to the festival. They played some music on Classic 102.1. You probably heard Pioneer Playhouse ads this year. We partnered with them. So we like that. We try to keep our digital game strong, although it's been lacking because our website isn't great. We just got started on a new website development project, hoping to launch in the spring. And with that website development, not only will it be a whole new website, but it'll also have a digital marketing plan that comes with it. We have some really cool digital things going on with the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. They launch a new website in January, and we will be inserted in all of the maps and the trip planners. So when they're looking to say, hey, where do I stay the night, Danville will come up. We do a lot of SEO marketing. Of course, we do social media. We also have a great digital and print package in the works with a travel writer who came. He's going to do a lot of he's going to do writing, and we're going to get it in the Bourbon Review. And then there's some giveaways planned also to drive digital traffic to our website. But we'll launch that in the spring when our new website's live. We also do a lot of things such as AdRack, which distributes about 35,000 of our brochures across about 7 states. Lead fulfillment, we print about 50,000 visitors guides and go through that in about a year. We have a lot of printed rack cards and supporting material. We saw over 8,000 visitors this year in the visitors center, and they're the ones who just came in. The park is always full. So we had 8 field trips, lots of exciting stuff. We try and partner with McDowell as much as we can to have them host the tours when people want to. So that's been a really useful partnership. Lincoln Scenic Byway, lots of branding materials. And last but not least, we've really hit the ground running with the brands on the economic development ads. As you can see, actually the first ad we did before the branding was even complete, and most of you have seen it, is with the Site Selection magazine. Same ad in the Think Kentucky. We've done a couple livability ads, and this is our most recent ad in Southern Business Development, recognizing Dana. So here I'll let you pass that one. Yeah, well, we can go there. So the one on the left is the ad. Ron and I talked about using some CVB money to help the city and the county with their ad in the Livability. It's that annual chamber publication. We use that magazine a lot for people looking to relocate, if somebody requests a lot more information. So we did that ad with the city and the county in mind, recognizing their efforts for preservation. And yes, on the right is the ad in the Southern Business Development, recognizing Dana. And if you notice about these ads, they look quite different. They don't have a bunch of icons at the bottom. They look more like a story that you want to read. So it actually may not be appealing to you when you first look at it. But the point is to make you stop turning the page and look. And we hope we do that with this. On the left is, that's another banner. We've done 5 of the banners. So that's another one we use. And then on the right is the ad that's in Oxford, America, and the Kentucky Official Visitors Guide. And we'll use that a fair bit in that's one of the things, we spent a lot of money in design these past few months. But now we have a bank of art and ad work that just really needs some sizing and adjustments so we can jump on different publications. So we're doing our website. When it comes to sports tourism, we're not doing a whole lot of placed advertising right now. One of the ideas that I was throwing around was possibly we could partner with Parks and Rec to do their website. I know that's a big thing we're trying to get up and running. I have some ideas about that. We're working, yeah, a minute. I'm almost done. Okay. We're working on spring placements. So in the Excel sheet, you'll see there's a lot of question marks, but also additional things going on. I can't emphasize enough how much we spend cultivating relationships. So when people want to do a story, they think, hey, I think Danville's got something cool, or what about Merchants Row? So we're always working on that. We maintain our services. We're working with Heart of Danville and the city and lots of folks on different kind of signage and projects. And one thing I need to mention is that I really, really appreciate the city's partnership from the staff to the leaders on the branding. The goal was never to say, hey, you have to have our logo, because the logo doesn't matter at all. If you notice in the story, it's part and parcel with City of First. So it's more about the story, not the look. It's about making bold decisions as elected officials and as community members and pushing our community forward. So I really appreciate how the brand has taken, and we've got the historical building tour in the works. So I'm pretty pleased with where things are going. So if you guys have any questions, I think that's it. Thanks for dealing with me.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know you didn't talk a lot about it, but we are doing the wayfinding plan.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have kiosks listed on here. And this wayfinding process, is it going to be interactive with some type of app, or are there going to be interactive kiosks, or have we even gotten that far?
The kiosks very much are interactive. In fact, the main point of the kiosk came from what happens when people come and we're closed. We're not open on Sundays. We're not open on Mondays. We're open April through October. So we have brochures outside, but it's not interactive. So we're talking about putting one at least at Constitution Square. I know Heart of Danville has a districts app too. Nick could talk more about that. But we've talked about maybe there's something with the district act that we could partner. The wayfinding signage, I don't have digital plans for. Really, I'm just going along for the ride and thrilled that the branding has been woven and that we're making such good progress as a community on such an important project. So I'm open to however that goes. We also have a savings plan. We've started putting away money for signage implementation. It's not much, but if we phase it in, we're happy to help pay.
It's a start.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
I have a question or two, if I may, Mayor.
Certainly.
First of all, the effects of marketing. From memory, can you tell me how much our tourism expenditures currently are in Boyle County and how they may have grown over the last few years?
They were $90 million this past year. I think up from 83 or 85 the previous year. We've seen growth in tourism for the past 10 years. So it's a sure thing, I think, for us.
And the second point, although you may be too modest to bring this up, but didn't the CVB win an advertising award recently at the national?
Woohoo. We did. I got to tell you, I was really wishing and hoping, but trying not to hope too much because I was going to be disappointed. We did. We took home one of the biggest state awards that they give. I submitted the branding project. We took home an award for our visitor's guide, the 225 celebration. And then the overall branding took home a gold in marketing and then also took home Judge's Choice. So there's about 300 and some projects that were submitted, and we were #1. And they also do a best in show and most innovative. So Lexington won for, I don't know if you've seen their horse video, where the horse, it's like a horse with a GoPro. They got most innovated. And I forget what best in show was. I was too excited about our Judge's Choice. So yes, thanks, Ron.
Anything else?
I'd say congratulations and keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate the report.
Yeah.
Item 7 is the code enforcement report. Bridget?
I'm not sure mine is quite as exciting as Jennifer's, but I'll For the month of October, we issued 33 business licenses. We placed 10 liens and we recovered 3. We issued 39 violations and 4 code citations. So we're slowly starting to issue more citations as we go along. 2 very exciting things. Besides, we have removed 311 West Main Street from the condemnation list. So they are moving along and progressing very nicely. And then the Sutton's demolition is under contract. It's not been demolished yet. they're fixing to start clearing out stuff from the building to, for salvage value before, but it is under contract, so hopefully we'll see that, some things start happening here in the next few weeks on that. And I'll entertain any questions you might have.
I think your group's doing a good job. I seem to be the guy with all the gold stars thrown out here, but
Thank you. My staff is working
it's true,
very
and I
hard.
think that I would give credit to the mayor and the city commission for giving the backing that you probably needed to turn some of these properties around.
Yes.
So,
Thank you, Bridget.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Well, it's a good report, but we still hate to see things come down, but sometimes we don't have no other choice, but
Yes.
it's one of my favorite spots in town. They keep coming down. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Item 8 is the Fackler Street renaming request discussion. Donna, you want to start it off?
I can start it off in that the commission decided in October to open the process for the proposed renaming or requested renaming of Fackler Street. I did that. We accepted letters or proposals, objections through November the 9th. And I attached those, put those in your packets, and added one today from Miss Carolyn Crabtree. So there was 10 total, either newspaper clippings or everything in there. And then after that, I've looked at it, and you all would discuss it now. It's your pleasure.
Well, we have a documented process and protocol.
Right.
In your estimation, that process and protocol has been followed.
Yeah, Mr. Trumbo came in. I gave him a copy of the resolution. Ms. Calhoun has a copy of the resolution that the city passed in 2014, and then they submitted their request according to that.
Okay. So, Commission, let's discuss.
Well, I want to commend Mrs. Calhoun and Mr. Trumbo and all the folks who took the time to put in their request, because it's an attempt to honor a very worthy person. And then I want to thank all those who signed the petition in support of. We keep saying renaming Fackler Street, and I guess I want to move to the point where I want to name something in honor of Michael M. Smith. But I also want to commend those who sent information to us about the life and legacy of Mr. Fackler as well, and there were several. And then it's always nice to hear from the public in favor or opposed to something that's being done. So I've tried to take all of those things into consideration, and I'd like to hear us discuss it as a commission, and then somewhere along the line tonight, if not one of us, I will try to make a recommendation for doing something with the proposal.
well, I'll follow up with you on that, Commissioner Atkins. The total of the signatures on a petition, so you folks have been working really hard, was 207. That's a lot of folks that came through on that, so that's really good. On the same token, we have Michael M. Smith here, a great citizen of the city here, owner of Smith Jackson Funeral Home. Question, community leader, I don't know. I guess he was a good friend and neighbor. And then you have Fackler, who has his own credits. So I think, it's a weighing process naturally. And one of the things that stands out in our resolution is to try not to have similar street names. And I think it was pointed out that we already have a Smith Street, so that could be a problem. Probably for the folks at the fire department or police department, trying to figure out which street we're really talking about. So those are a few notes I took. I read through this whole thing. I think this is good that there's a lot of interest in honoring somebody. I also think it's good. Oh, did I get it wrong? Did I get it wrong?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Okay. And, but there's also some good facts on why the street is even named that it is. So I think it makes some good conversation for you now. Just trying to start it.
Let me ask Ron, there is a connection, a road between Arnold Boulevard and Bates Street that runs in front of, is that a city road?
In front of the funeral home, it is not a dedicated city street. It's a private driveway in front of the Smith-Jackson Funeral Home.
Okay.
It could become a dedicated street if the property owners wish to have that a dedicated street. They would have to grant an easement. Our staff had a brief conversation with the family, and they, at this point, were not inclined to explore donation of that easement, so the city could have that as a potential street to dedicate to Mr. Smith.
Which I think would be perfect, really.
I just wanted to stress that this is about criteria and not about the person. So the same thing jumped out at me with our resolution that, as Commissioner Sears, is that it reads that the name should be chosen in a manner that avoids duplication, confusing similarity, excessive length, or inappropriateness. So I think this would probably add some confusion for our first responders. And I was actually going to mention the drive in front of the funeral home. I've driven down there a couple of times just to get my bearings and to see what our options are. And I was going to propose that we offer to name the private drive there.
I'll weigh in before you, if that's okay, Mr. Atkins.
Oh, I'm just, go ahead, yes. I'm a gentleman tonight.
You know, I think in reading our ordinance about what it requires to have a street named for you, I think Mr. Smith definitely qualifies without question. And I would like to see us name something in his honor for all he's done. I'm not sure that that piece of Fackler Street, I get hung up a little bit on the fact that at some point somebody or some group of people felt like Mr. Fackler had done some great things and deserved to have that piece of road named after him, and then going back and then renaming that for someone else, and then are we gonna, 20 years from now, somebody else is gonna have an idea and we're gonna rename it something else. I would rather do something for Mr. Smith that was more permanent in nature. Unfortunately, I don't have a great idea on what that is. I've thought, and given that that is a private drive in front of the funeral home, that's kind of been one of my hang-ups, but so that kind of segues into what I think Mr. Atkins may have on his mind.
Oh, well, okay. I have gotten several calls and several suggestions, and in an attempt not to add confusion to the mix, I'm just gonna toss out the one that I would like to suggest that I feel most appropriate at this time. And that is because it will not take away from anybody's history that's already been displayed publicly. And that is that if you go down 2nd Street, we all know where Batewood Community Center, the Batewood Homes is located. Right beside that, the city owns a piece of property called city park, I think it's called Batewood Park, and it's owned by the city. And it's right next to Batewood, who's named after Professor Bate and Reverend J.E. Woods. And my proposal from just talking to folks is that, because I don't think Michael would want to be a part of a controversy, okay? So I would like to suggest that we consider, the city consider naming it the Michael M. Smith Memorial Park and going from Batewood Park to Michael M. Smith Memorial Park, because Batewood Homes is still gonna be there, so we're not taking anything away from from the Batewood name, but we will be adding, Mr. Smith's name to that segment of town. The reason why I'm opposed to some of the other places is because they're not as publicly visible when you travel Danville as when you travel 2nd Street. And the other thing is that one of the local historians has related to me that those who've been around long enough know that Batewood Park at one time was a real public park, very active park in the African American community, and had a swimming pool there.
Yep.
And that Mr. Michael Smith was one of the first qualified lifeguards of that pool. So to do something very honorable in his name, I would like to say we let the Fackler family know we're not going to change that name of that street again and eliminate that name from that street, and that we attempt to name what we call Batewood Park the Michael M. Smith Memorial Park.
Would you like to make that in a motion, sir?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Yeah, quick question, J.H. So I'm not opposed to it, but Batewood Park was named after who?
I assume it's named after Professor John Bate, after me, and after Reverend J.E. Woods, a longtime minister of First Baptist Church here in Danville, on Walnut Street.
Okay.
And so I read a 1990 newspaper article, so we're getting all kind of articles into us, and the Housing Authority owns the community, and it attempted to name it the 2nd Street site at one time, and the community went up in arms about that, so it kept the name Batewood Center. And so the park, I guess just because it's right across the street from it, just the city graciously named the park that same name. And so my attempt tonight would be to rename that park. And really, you're not renaming, well, you are renaming that park, the Michael M. Smith Memorial Park.
Let me ask staff if that seems plausible.
Personally, I'm not aware of the history of the naming of that. I don't know if our city engineer may be more knowledgeable about that, but it seems plausible on the surface, certainly.
Does Mr. Dexter want to chime in? No?
No, I don't think there's any legal issue with the motion that's been made. If you're so inclined, I think you're entitled to vote.
Yeah, the sign just simply says, City of Danville, Batewood Park. Nice sign, and I had to go back by there a couple times just to make sure I had the right location, but it does say that. So it could very easily be just the Michael M. Smith Memorial Park. It's used, we maintain it, and still a very viable, very visible place in our community.
I still like the idea, but I think if you get on the trail, there is a little plaque, a historical plaque,
Yeah,
for someone by the name of Bate, right?
that's right, yeah.
Okay.
That's right, yeah.
So I'm just being cautious here, as Commissioner Caudell said, to take away from something that's already in place.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. On a positive note, whatever that park is, we have a new piece of trail there, so that's good for the park.
That's right.
good for the naming of the park.
That's right.
We hope that when we get the next connector of that trail, there's going to be a lot of utilization, and that park will come back to life a little bit like Jackson Park has come back to life. So.
And that one gets used quite a bit, and I think also we need to remember that. Yes, ma'am. And the fact that Center College has sort of adopted it and done quite a bit of work to help maintain it as well. So it's a very viable part of our community.
And I think we're all in agreement of remembering Mr. Smith.
Yeah, no debate there.
That's not the issue at all. We just want to make sure that it's appropriate.
Well, and part of my motion is that we consider that as a location, whether you want to do it tonight or not, and let somebody do a little research on it. I think several people have already done a little research on it, and well, I shouldn't say this, but I just hope it's not going to offend the Bait alumni, and I would assume it's not going to offend anybody that's a member of Reverend Woods' family. But I think it'd be very
Well, but
nice
we won't
connection.
be taking their name off of anything. It will, they still have their name.
That's right. Yeah.
And we have several things with the Bait name on it.
Yeah.
And so we're not erasing anything. We're I think adding to it, in my opinion.
I think before we take a vote, I think it'd be appropriate since Ms. Calhoun and Mr. Trumbo brought this to us.
Yes.
I think it'd be appropriate to hear if that meets your satisfaction.
Yes, because I live on J.E. Woods Drive, right across from the park.
So you get to see it every day.
You get to see it every day. Mr. Trumbo?
Are you all ready? We're always ready.
He's got
We're
something.
always ready. We don't always get to go, but we're always ready.
He looks like he's ready.
No. First of all, I'd just like to thank you all for the considerations that you all have taken, for the abuse that you have taken, and everything, because I know naming a street is a hard task, especially if it's already named.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I appreciate the effort that you all have taken, and so does Ms. Calhoun. We appreciate the effort that you all have made and listened to us. Because, you know, when you listen to people, sometimes they feel like that they are part of the community.
Amen.
And a lot of times when you go out someplace and nobody's paying attention to you, then the next thing that you'll do is you'll just remove yourself from that situation, in a sense. And we don't want that. And I, again, appreciate whatever that we can do, whatever that we may do, to honor a great man in this community. And I think that you all have heard the spiel, how good he has been to everybody. I'm not going through that. But I'm just letting you know that we appreciate what you all have done and what you're going to do. And God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Trumbo.
Well, I think the other point that I've been trying to make to people in the community is that Danville lays claim to being a city of first, and she rightfully should try to keep that. But there's also a part of Danville's city of first that we are trying to keep alive and to restore, and in keeping things alive and restoring things, you don't want to take away from someone else. But if you look throughout this community of first, there are very few pieces of African American history that you can visually walk past and visualize and study and learn. And there's a couple of signs at Constitution Square. There's Batewood Homes. There's Bate Street. There's going to be Michael M. Smith Memorial Park. There's signs about home of Frank X. Walker. But if you ever take my African American history test about the city of Danville, you'll realize that there are lots of people of color that we cannot, our kids cannot visually see as they walk this community. So there's a move on by some of us to pick out some other places and some other names of people that we're going to bring forth in this community that we think need to be a part of that historical trace about this town. You know, we call it the Buffalo Trail, and we have the Lincoln Heritage Trail, and we're going to have the City of First, and we're going to have some kind of, we got an African-American tour of the city, but got a hard time finding things to read on that tour. So this would be another way, another attempt to increase and add to that legacy. I'm sorry, I'm preaching to the choir, and I'm sorry.
Any further comments?
I move for the question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the,
So you made a motion to rename that, and we had a second. I guess I missed that. Maybe I gotta have Alzheimer's.
You second it.
Yeah, you second it. I
so-
second it.
I have one more comment,
I'm
and that
thinking
goes back to.
are you willing to withdraw
that
your
I'm-
question?
I'm really
Yeah.
excited about this idea, but I want to make sure that as we look at that park, whatever plaque is down there for Mr. Bate, that stays, because that's part of the history there.
That's right. That's
as
right.
well.
Yeah.
Well, do we need to open this up for the 30 days again? Or what?
No.
But because you're not renaming a street, you do not have to open it up for a 30-day comment period,
Okay.
and you could name any facility, I think, at your leisure or as you may determine.
And I called for the question, but I'll take it back. City Attorney Stephen Dexter, we need to probably go back to this policy because it really doesn't cover what I call the renaming of a street.
I think it does. It says the
Does it?
naming or renaming of property owned by the city.
Okay. all right.
So,
It does.
Now, the renaming part, though, that's really, we need, well, okay, we'll talk about it. That's,
so technically, what we did was said we're going to accept names to rename a
Yeah.
portion of Fackler Street or all of Fackler Street.
right.
I mean, by the strict letter of the law, or the resolution rather, which is your law, you've identified an area to accept a name change. You have tonight made a motion to essentially change the name of a park. However, I will say it is within your ultimate authority to name city-owned property, period.
Sure.
This process is in place to vet names, and I think what you did through the process was recognize the historical significance of Mr. Fackler and identify Mr. Smith as another important piece of history to be recognized. There were no other names submitted, so I think you are within the spirit and letter of the resolution that was passed to identify something comparable by renaming Batewood Park, Michael Smith Memorial Park, or something, whatever you said better than that. So I think it complies in spirit with it. It's not exactly, but I think it meets the intention, and I would say vote.
I'm gonna call a question because Mr. Atkins apparently just,
Behave
Yeah.
yourself.
Change his mind.
Question's
Change
been
your
called.
mind.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign, motion carries. And I want to thank Mr. Trumbo for coming up with an idea, because I've got to admit, I've been at twists for this, trying to figure this out. And I think, frankly, personally, I think that's going to be much more visible than a little old green and white sign that people pass by at 45 miles an hour. And, yeah.
We're working on that too.
And with that, I'm very.
Here
with
the
that,
public comes up after the manager's report.
This was the first.
Let's leave that alone.
That's right, that's right.
I will say, folks, I'm really excited about this change for what I said. To rename that park is going to kind of get us moving on our trail system.
Yeah.
So it brings a new birth to it.
And I'm comfortable and confident that it will be taken care of, because Ms. Calhoun's going to see to it.
That's right. And this is the first true test of our policy to name or rename something. And I think it's been a learning experience, but I've also learned, I didn't know everything that the Fackler name meant. And I did not have the privilege of knowing Mr. Smith either. And I have learned about both of these fine men and what they've contributed to Danville.
You weren't here for the renaming of the Boyle County, or the naming of the Boyle County street?
Yes, but that was not nearly as controversial as this has been.
Well, you know, I think
And that
too,
was
we'd
a
be remiss
naming.
if we didn't note the fact that I think the policy worked.
It did.
That's right.
This is a situation where it was an exercise of civic involvement, where you had a presentation of a good idea and a gentleman that was recognized, and also a relearning of history, of a historic name for the city of Danville and what that individual means to the community. And in the process, you disseminated it and came up with a rational solution and looked at both sides of it, both of which were presented professionally, which I think is a testament to the community and to the commission. So not only was it a learning experience, but I think it shows how this policy works, and also is a testament to the type of people in the community that can look at what could have been a controversial idea, but was thought about without passion, but rather from a learning perspective, and a good solution was found.
It really helped to take the emotion out of it.
What emotions
Thank you.
were taken out?
What we was gonna do is we named Michael M. Smith Way at Fackler Street. We was gonna put a plaque there, not to forget Mr. Fackler.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Roy Armour got it all the way from Enterprise. I didn't know that.
All right.
Moving on.
City manager.
City manager report, Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir. Just a few brief items. First of all, I just want to remind the commission that this Thursday, the commission and the public, that this Thursday, November the 16th at 5:30, here in the commission chambers in this public meeting area, we will have a report from the CVB's consultant on the outcome of their feasibility study for a downtown hotel. And Jennifer, thank you for the lead on that. And so we'll have that meeting here, and all are welcome to attend that 5:30 meeting on November the 16th. Another item that I've received a email on recently was the question of how are we moving with our wayfinding project. We've had a series of meetings already on that topic that have been well attended. We chatted with John Carmen just very recently regarding his progress on that project, and he is attempting to schedule a meeting with DOT District 7 to clarify a number of issues, and prefers not to have another meeting until he has some clarification on those issues. So I'm not exactly certain when that meeting would be, but knowing of the difficulty of getting a meeting scheduled with DOT 7 on short notice, it's probably going to be a little while before that may occur. And so I'm guessing, and only guessing, that our next meeting will be sometime in December. And I would think, given the holidays coming in December, if we're unable to schedule that in the first 2 weeks of December, we would not hold it during the month of December, but rather wait to the first of the year. So as soon as we know more, we'll put it on our webpage or announce that. But there is a possibility, I suppose, that we could have a meeting in the first 2 weeks of December. But absent that, I guess we're into the new year. The third item, I just remind the City Commission and the public as well, is that we have settled on November the 29th for our City Commission staff retreat to look at where we are in terms of our various projects for the current fiscal year and what our preliminary priorities may be for the next year. And so we will be meeting at Center College. Donna Peak has scheduled a meeting room of I guess it's the Student Center. I'm not sure of the official name of that facility, and we'll send out the notices on that. But we're going to start rather early at 8:30, probably with some coffee and refreshments, and get right into the meeting shortly thereafter, at least by 9. So it should be at least half a day, maybe 2/3 of a day meeting at that time.
Is that going to be in the same upper level room where we were?
Not the same room, but it's the
same area.
Same area,
Okay.
Second floor there. That really is all I wanted to mention to the commission tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Ron? Seeing none, we'll move into the section we call Hear the Public. This is the public's opportunity to address the commission about any subject that's not on tonight's agenda. Ms. Brantley.
Good evening. I would like to issue an invitation to the members of the commission and the community at large to a benefit concert this Sunday, November 19th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Presbyterian Church on Main Street. The benefit concert will be performed by Presbyterian Church Choir and friends of the choir that have joined. It's a performance of John Rutter's Requiem, and it will benefit the Hope Network. There is no price for admission, but a free will offering that will benefit the Hope Network will be taken, and I hope a lot of folks in the community will take advantage of this opportunity to hear about an hour's worth of really stunning music and benefit an excellent program in our community. Thank you.
Day and time, one more time.
November 19th. 3
November
p.m.
19th, 3 o'clock. Thank you.
That's before next Thursday, right?
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Laurie Kagan Moore. I wanted to thank the city staff and the commission for all of the work that they've put in so far on the wayfinding signage project. We had a really good meeting. Mr. Carmen isn't here, but I'd like to send thanks to him. I've heard from a number of community members and organization people that they felt really included, and it seemed really positive, and we're grateful for that, so thank you. And I wanted to mention something just about what you just said a little while ago. At the Dollhouse Museum, we're in the process of installing a 10-foot storyboard on the history of the building, and of course, a pretty important part of it is about William Bunny Davis, and he already has something named for him, but there's not. He did so much. It's really remarkable what he did. I mean, a lot of people have no idea what he did, but he was an amazing guy. And so there's not a real storyboard with photographs, and that will be going up within the next few months.
You need photographs?
If you've got some that I don't have,
That guy
we're
back there.
looking at you.
And there's, well, you can get someone to research the Advocate Messenger for. There've been several neat ones.
Mary Gerard
Advocate.
has been helping, and John Davis lives next door to us, and he has
Yeah.
brought me quite a bit of material, but there may be other material I don't have. We have got one with Mr. Davis, with Willie Mays,
Yeah.
Jackie Robinson, and some other photographs. It's
You got a picture
pretty
of him with
cool.
Barbara Trumbull on that?
What's that?
You got a picture of him with Barbara Trumbull on that?
You bring me the picture, we'll put it up.
He always said young boys to us.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We've also got pictures that are going up on the storyboard because it's about the history of the building, of when it was a National Guard armory.
Yeah.
And there's some amazing pictures of cannons parked in that front of that building and all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty exciting. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Ms.
Oh,
Kelly.
oh.
I want to talk about the Baywood Park. They need some lights over there by the trail. And it's some people that sleeps in a gazebo all night long. The reason we know that we was sitting on the porch, the girl went over and smacked it. We heard it smack. I guess to see if he was still alive. And they need patrolling. And I wasn't playing about the stoplight, the lights. We need one, because we can't hardly get out on 2nd Street. And they speed. And I appreciate what y'all doing for, I called him Uncle Mike. This is a picture of, if some people might not know him, but he did a lot.
Oh, man.
And I was wishing Fackler Street, because we was gonna put a plaque so we wouldn't forget Mr. Fackler of what he done. And you know, the park would be a good idea too. But you need to put some lights over there, because you can't see nothing. They got some on close to the road, but you can't see what's going on in the park.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I want to be safe and sorry, you know what I'm saying?
Amen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
You sure it wasn't you that delivered that smack?
That was Earl waiting for his next job.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Mr. Knight?
Thank you, Mayor Paris. My name's Steve Knight. Hadn't intended on speaking anything tonight, but just a quick note. I thought y'all, considering the discussion, thought you might find this interesting. I was able to look this up on my phone. From the Wednesday, May 30th, 1951 edition of the Advocate Messenger, this paragraph, I'll just read it real quick. In an effort to find a suitable name for these units, the commission, after numerous consultations with prominent colored people of the city, agreed upon the name of Bate-Wood Homes in honor of Professor John W. Bate, a well-known educator, and Reverend J.E. Wood, a prominent minister of former years. So that was from 1951. And there was some information about the layout of the park I found from 1954. I think it was like May 2nd edition from 1954. I just wanted to read that. Thought you might find it interesting.
Yeah. Did it have a picture of the swimming pool in?
Let me look it up real quick,
Okay,
and
all right.
I'll see if I can find that for you. I'll go back and find it, and I'll come back up. But I just
Thank
thought
you,
y'all,
Steve.
I think that's a great compromise what you came up with tonight, and good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You already had your.
I would, I know, right?
You had more than 3 minutes.
I need to, since we're talking about celebrating African American history, I need to mention too that all of the downstairs at Grayson's Tavern is an African American historical exhibit that pays tribute to 2nd Street. So it came from the great work that Dr. Bethany Rogers had did in the African American district there with Michael Hughes, and we actually, Mary Gerard was a huge influence, and there's a really, really wonderful visual and text-based all around the walls on Grayson's, and we're actually looking for to make it 3D. So we talked about, we actually have a barber shop pole in there, and we talked about putting a barber chair, but it was a little too expensive. So we're looking for things that are commemorative of the 2nd Street area. So
Are you saying
come to-
permanent?
Yes, permanent. We spent a fair bit of money on it. You should come. It's, yeah, there's photos that are life-size. It's really a wonderful exhibit.
Well, I want to commend you on it, but what do we always say about the PR of things like that? See, if you get it out, I'm sure there's some folks in town who would be willing to donate some things to you for that.
Yeah, I haven't put out a call for
Okay,
items
okay.
necessarily, so we'll definitely do that. And we're also working, African American tourism is also up across the state. So we just submitted a full list of all of our African American tourism assets, so I'll share that with you. There's more than you think.
And we need to get you the doghouse
Yeah,
connected,
we'll
too.
we'll certainly add it.
Just-
so.
They don't,
And Wilderness Road is underground road.
I know.
It's coming, it's coming. But it's about, I always say PR because things go on in this town and the left doesn't know what the right's doing and people get left out and get confused. And there are a lot of things that people have sitting around that need to go in a place like Grayson's Tavern or the Dollhouse that will outlive us all. So be glad to help try to get some of those things collected.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes.
Get in touch with Apple House and see.
Oh, there you go. See, look. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Atkins asked about that. I found that plot that they had drawn up what the park was gonna look like. So it was about 12 acres. You can kind of scroll around on my phone there. See, it did show a wading pool. It didn't show an actual pool. It did show a wading pool, but it had softball field, table tennis, regular tennis courts, volleyball, basketball,
Yeah.
some other things like that. Seesaw,
Is
slides.
that on the site or just Wikipedia? What
It's
is
on
it?
it's on a site called newspapers.com.
Okay.
I remember going there for softball
Yeah.
games.
Reason
Church
why I
of-
asked that, because when I first arrived at Danville, there's a picture that shows the park being very utilized, but there's also a picture of the swimming pool there. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
that picture someplace at home, and it was a regular standard swimming pool.
Yes, it was. Yes, it
It
was.
was really a nice pool because at that particular time, as we know in history, and I'm the historian.
Oh, come to the microphone, Mr. Trumbo.
History, pardon?
Come up here so we can, just so we can have it on record.
Now we want to see your pretty face.
As we all are well aware, at that particular time in history, blacks could not go out to Sunnyside. And there were too many people that were getting killed by going out to Clifton.
Yes.
There were several people that died, younger guys that died because we had to go out to Clifton to swim. And if you all are aware of Clifton, some of you all have been at the end of Clifton if you travel out where Clifton is. At the end of Clifton, there's a little area where boats can dock and everything like this, but as you go out in the river itself, it gets a little deep. And so I think you had some undercurrents or something, and so several people were killed out there, and these were younger guys. So a committee of citizens, black and white, got together and said, let's establish a swimming pool for blacks, in a sense. But it was open to everyone. But at least we knew where we could go swim. At a safe place. I got my swimming license there when I was young. I learned how to swim and everything, and we had a diving board. We had a 6-foot diving. It was really nice, 10 foot deep. And as time progressed on, the interest waned. Excuse me, I have a cold. And with all of this occurring like this was a state of the art. We had people come from all over the state of Kentucky coming to see, quote unquote, the colored pool of Danville, Kentucky. And it eventually opened up to whereas after integration, it opened up to whereas whites could attend and everything like this. Well, throughout the years, certain things happens to certain properties at a certain period of time, and it's no longer there. But it was a standard, first-class swimming pool, and had certified lifeguards that had to take training to be a part of that. And so a lot of people learned how to swim, including myself. We learned how to swim there. And it was a nice park, but as time progresses on, you all know what happens to things. I look back now and I look at 6th Street Park where we used to play baseball and softball and all like that. Jackson Park at the top of the hill, we used to play ball there, tennis and everything. It was a nice park. These things are almost a thing of the past. Let's don't lose what we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trumbo. Anyone else? Seeing not, we'll move on to commissioner comments. Mr. Atkins?
I'll just take a pass. We had a lengthy meeting, a lot of discussion, so I'll take a pass.
I'll be brief. I had the privilege of going to the concert last Saturday at Pioneer Playhouse by the Louisville Leopards, and the Danville Children's Choir was also there. They sang first, and that's a hidden gem that we have here that many people don't know about. Those children are very talented. The Louisville Leopards is a percussion, children only. Well, she claims that they won't go away. So now it includes some high school students as well. They play contemporary music, even some rock music. They have a Stevie medley, which is kind of nice. It's Stevie Wonder, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Stevie Nicks. They do songs from all of them.
That's a mix.
Yeah, that's their Stevie medley. They played Bruno Mars. They played Beethoven. It's an all percussion group. They have everything from steel drums to bongos to xylophones. I have a child playing the trumpet now, and so I took her, and we had a great time. And tomorrow night is a training that the chamber is offering. It's leading in a multi-generational city. and I promise you it'll be well worth your time and money. It's from 6 to 9 o'clock. I think most of us are signed up for that. I heard this man speak at the Kentucky League of Cities convention, and he's very good, very good.
The time?
6 to 9 tomorrow night at Intercounty Energy Room.
That's why I'm trying to.
Do you have a
cut this one
date?
short. No, I'm trying to cut this one short.
Kevin?
He's late.
I just was going to mention, and I probably told some of you all this, but last week we went to Charleston, South Carolina. I'd never been. Beautiful city, but if you didn't look down where you're walking, you would trip on those sidewalks and kill yourself. So just so you know, we're not the only town that fights a ongoing sidewalk battle.
Rick?
I'm really surprised that you left this for me. Good luck to our Danville Admirals football team and our Boyle County Rebels team as they advance forward. And happy Thanksgiving to all of you. We won't meet again till afterwards. And to you all. And everybody show up for the mayor's Christmas tree lighting. It's a special event.
That'll be at the mayor's house, by the way.
We're gonna light the mayor up or light a tree up?
Yeah. Mayor may get lit up.
We're gonna light the mayor up.
City Attorney Dexter, this is commissioner comments, but I know you want to make some comments and show off your newfound photographs tonight, don't you?
Hurry up.
So you were the culprit of those?
Not I. No, not I. Nope, sir. Nope.
Well, someone delivered photographs of, it looks like, based on the braces and my weight, pictures from a piano recital. I don't know, maybe I was 14,
No, I don't think he's 14.
but I'll keep them to myself. Thank you.
We've already put them on Facebook. Don't
Sometimes time is good. At least I
next
hope
time-
it has been.
But some young lady said he hadn't changed a bit.
If we come across a piano, from
Yeah,
now
buddy.
on, you're gonna be
That's right.
expected to play it.
On a more serious note, I would encourage each commissioner, each person on the staff, everybody in the audience here, and everybody listening, to contact our legislators at the federal level, because the House version of the new tax package eliminates the historic tax credit for restoration of historic buildings. Now think about that for a minute, because if you do that, there will be no reason economically for anybody to do anything with any older building. We will see, over a period of time, you will see a slow death of every small town across this state. Kentucky has been the fourth state in the country, the fourth best state in the country at utilizing the historic tax credit. Many of our buildings downtown have been improved using that historic tax credit. My opinion, this is a seismic shift. And I think the Senate has a different idea about it. I think they want to keep it in. And I did some phone work today, and they are listening. So I've got a call to return now to Senator Paul's office in Washington. So they are listening. And again, consider that if it doesn't go, there will be no incentive for large, accurate redevelopment of historic property. So on that uplifting note, anybody needs any phone numbers or whatever, feel free to call. I'll get you what I can. Anything else? Moving right on, financial and payment of the bills. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the payment of the bills.
I move for approval of the payment of the bills on the bill list in the amount of $735,265.91.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, Michelle, budget report.
20 words or less.
Say hello and goodbye, right?
Before I start, I wanted to tell you all that we've been working hard on getting a transparency program for our website called OpenGov, and Lord willing, that it'll be up and going, and we'll get a presentation at the next commission meeting on it.
All right.
Before you have first quarter September 2017 budget report. The budget report is a snapshot in time of what it looked like at the time of the report. And as far as the budget report goes, it looks like a decent report. As far as the numbers, they come out the way that we expected them to for the first quarter. I just want to make a reminder that you did budget, especially in the general fund, to spend more money than the revenues coming in, because we had carryovers to spend, which were mostly for open projects and open things that we had going on. Don't be alarmed for the negative variance in operating revenues. That was expected because we did have a tax increase, but that tax increase does not go into effect until October 1st. So that is not that tax increase is not included in this, but is included in the budget. So that this has come out the way we thought it would for the first quarter. It also shows that there's not been that much growth either, but don't be alarmed because of it. Again, across the board in operating expenses, the staff has done a wonderful job of cutting expenses wherever they can and not overspending. There'll always be some, leeway there for some money that needs to be spent, but across the board, that you have a positive variance in that category also. Your utility fund does have a positive variance this year in revenues because of the increase in the sewer rates that had started in September 1st. Is there any questions?
I just want to say thank you for a good report, very informative. And I think your explanations about when we started the new tax increases answers a lot of questions that one might have. And then I want to also thank you for the way we get these bill reports, because we have fewer and fewer questions, excluding Commissioner Siri, every month. So really a good report. It's where we can understand things, and I really appreciate that.
Michelle, if you had to make an improvement on this, if you had to, what would it be?
In our financial, the way it's reported, or in
The content, or how our operations?
Our operations?
Yeah.
Right now, we're doing pretty good this quarter. We are getting ready to start a lot of projects, and we're in the midst of a lot of projects right now. I always adjust the report to adjust that. If I showed those on here, then we would show a great big positive variance because we've not spent that money yet. We do take that down. Sometimes you can't really see that in this report, that we have a lot of money budgeted for projects. And I always make those equal because I want to give this as an operating budget report and not just a capital budget report. That would screw the numbers.
I just knew you'd answer his question by saying,
Stop spending money.
more income, less spending and more savings, right? Okay. You smiled, didn't you?
Well, but our staff is very conscientious.
They are very
of our
conscious, and
budget.
they do a wonderful job.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further questions?
I'd hate to have her be in charge of my pocketbook, my budget.
You get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
No spending allowed, right?
That's right.
Good work.
Item 12 is a resolution 2017-11-13-01, chemical bid award. Mr. Coffey?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. The city staff did the e-bridge for the chemicals for the water plant and wastewater plant. The results of that is attached. City staff recommends accepting the low bidders as presented.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution 2017-11-13-01.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Discussion.
Yeah, but you didn't point it out, but I will. You've got some reduction in pricing on some of this stuff, so good for you. Yeah, saving some money. I think that we showed a few things that were maybe flat and a couple that went up, but I think that it looks like done a good job in bidding this out.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't go over with too much detail specifically because I don't have the eBridge summary report, which talks a little bit about, which breaks out analytically more of the information. What you have in front of you is just strictly the low dollar amount, which I apologize for that. For example, some of it's in pounds, some of it's in gallons, which makes it make different sense to you perhaps, so I apologize for that.
Any further comments?
Some of this includes the fairly new chemicals that we use at the water plant.
Yes, for example, a lot of it is labeled bulk. For example, the polymer is in bulk, ferric chloride is in bulk, and so you'll see a reduction in that, partly because some of it's going from powder to chemical to liquid form. But then the other side is you're getting a much different quantity with each load too, so your price does go down.
And we also have less waste.
That is
with
correct.
the liquid
Absolutely.
as opposed to the powder.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just want to point that out.
Any further comments?
Well, since it's Mr. Coffey's only items on the agenda, would you reveal yourself as being the young man in the gazebo that she was referring to?
No, that wasn't me. No, I was not there. No.
When she said that, all that came across my mind was,
No.
he's out there waiting for you.
I'm not sure why.
All in favor, I will call the question. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next is Resolution 2017-11-13-02. This is in reference to the transfer of the surplus police vehicle to our fine neighbors to the south in Stanford. Stephen?
Mayor and Commissioners, the resolution before you acknowledges that the city, in the implementation of its program to analyze leasing versus owning its fleet of vehicles, that study was commissioned and determined, or the finding was that the city would be substantially better off by leasing vehicles. Part of that master agreement that was signed identified certain vehicles to be traded in and surplused. The city of Stanford has identified one of those vehicles that it would like to utilize in its force. And the trade-in value that was associated with that vehicle has been determined, and the city of Stanford has agreed by the sum of $9,000. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yes.
They've not agreed to it, but the city has saying that it is willing to offer that vehicle to the city of Stanford for $9,000 as opposed to just letting it be a trade-in on its master service agreement for the leasing of vehicles. So the resolution tonight identifies the 2011 Dodge Charger and makes it available to the city of Stanford Police Department for $9,000 and would take it off of the trade-in list with Enterprise. So your approval of that would allow them to purchase it for $9,000 if they so choose.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
No, I think this is a good thing. Good thing for City of Stanford, if they accept that vehicle and like it, but it's, I think it's a good thing.
If we can help, anything else you want, come see us.
It's not the chief, and not the officer.
Any further comments? Sorry you had to stay the whole night for this.
Oh, he enjoyed every bit of it.
Any further comments? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And finally, tonight, Municipal Order Number 11-13-01-2017. You have the appointments from the city to the Economic Development Partnership.
What the municipal order does in front of you is memorializes the conversation you had maybe 2 or 3 meetings ago when you this body made its appointments to the new EDP board as revised. So it solidifies that the mayor will serve, the city manager will serve, and one other commissioner that will be nominated by the mayor and approved by a majority of the commission to serve for their respective terms as the city's representative on the EDP board. So it just memorializes the process. Typically, appointments to boards, we put in ordinances, but since this is not, would not be appropriate in ordinance format, the municipal order was used.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve a municipal order 11-13-01-2017.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I believe that we have calls for an executive session tonight.
Yes, sir, that is correct. We are requesting an executive session to discuss personnel matters and also pending litigation.
Okay. Mr. Commissioner Cottle, would you like to make that motion legal?
I'll do that. I move that we move into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61-810-1F, and also to discuss pending litigation for which disclosure of details might compromise litigation posture pursuant to KRS 61-810-1C.
Motion made and seconded.
Second.
Chair call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We are in executive session. I'll entertain a motion to go back into regular session. Do I hear a motion?
I move we go back into regular session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are in regular session.
He's hurt.
He's not going to walk all the way up here.
Madam Clerk.
Staff would ask that you offer a contingent job offer to Casey Whittle and to Ashley Coach for the positions of police officer as presented.
So moved.
Motion's made. Second.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
And
Motion
we would
carries.
also we would like to recommend that you hire Patricia Deal to the position of telecommunicator with the usual probationary measures.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
That's all.
Anything further to come before us? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign.